I couldn't walk for 3 days, but not for the reason you think. It didn't start with anything dramatic. No screaming fights, no lipstick on collars. Just subtle shifts. Daniel started staying late at work more often. I told myself it was just a busy season at the firm. That's normal, right? At first, I believed him. Why wouldn't I? We'd been together for almost 7 years. He always remembered anniversaries, made my coffee just the way I liked it, touched my lower back when passing by. The small things, the kind that make you think love is still alive. But slowly, those things changed. I noticed how his phone was always face down. How he'd chuckle at messages and lock the screen before I could glance. He started wearing cologne I didn't recognize. One night, he came home with damp hair and claimed he'd hit the gym, but there was no gym bag. I asked about it. He said I was being paranoid. Then came our anniversary. I'd made dinner reservations at the place where we first met. I even wore the red dress he once said made him forget how to breathe. But at 5:47 p.m., he texted, "Work emergency. Rain check." That was when my best friend Jenna raised her eyebrow. "Trust is good," she said, "but don't ignore your instincts. People show you who they are when they think you're not looking." So I started looking. Small things, at first. I checked our shared credit card transactions. Twice he paid at a restaurant I'd never heard of during those supposed late work nights. I opened the glove compartment to grab tissues one morning and saw it. A hotel key card. No logo. Just a white strip and a barcode. I turned it over in my hand. He wasn't traveling. Not for work. Not for anything. That key card didn't belong in our life. I placed it back carefully. My heart was thumping so hard, I thought I'd be sick. I sat on the edge of the bed that night, watching him sleep, wondering who he was when I wasn't around. And who he was with. I started pulling back. Quietly. I smiled when I had to, touched his arm at dinner, made love when he initiated, but my mind was elsewhere. Watching. Waiting. There's a kind of pain that doesn't scream. It sits behind your ribs like a weight. You carry it with your grocery list and your car keys and your pretend smiles. That was me for weeks. Then one afternoon, while tidying his car before getting it serviced, I found it again. The key card. The exact same one. He hadn't even bothered to get rid of it. Like he thought I'd never look. Like I was already blind. And that's when I knew I had to stop wondering. I had to find out for sure. Because whatever was happening, it wasn't just in my head. I didn't confront him. Not yet. That would have given him time to lie, twist things, maybe even cover his tracks. Instead, I started collecting proof. Jenna helped. She was the only one I trusted, and she agreed. Whatever was going on, I needed to see it with my own eyes. I told Daniel I had a work trip out of town. 2 nights, back Friday. He barely blinked. Kissed me goodbye with that same fake warmth. I didn't go anywhere. I checked into a small Airbnb across town with Jenna. We waited. Thursday night was always his late night. At 7:26 p.m., his car pulled out of the driveway. I followed in mine, heart racing. I kept distance, careful not to get too close. He drove across the city and parked in front of a hotel. Mid-range, nothing fancy. But clean. Familiar. He stepped out. Checked his phone. Waited. 3 minutes later, she arrived. Alina. My cousin. She ran up to him like it was normal. Like it wasn't destruction wrapped in lipstick. He kissed her. Full on. No hesitation. They laughed as they walked inside. I felt my throat close. Alina. My blood. My childhood partner in crime. She used to stay in our guest room when she fought with her boyfriends. Ate at our table. Hugged me when I cried about miscarriages. She knew everything. She knew me. And that didn't stop her. I didn't cry. Not yet. I took pictures. Videos. I zoomed in, captured faces, timestamps, the way he held her waist like he belonged to her. I stood there for 20 minutes, locked in place, waiting for the pain to reach me. But all I felt was numb. Back at the Airbnb, Jenna sat next to me in silence while I scrolled through the images again and again. Proof. Not just of infidelity, but of betrayal layered deep. My husband. My cousin. Sneaking around like I was stupid. By morning, I knew what I had to do. Screaming would be useless. Confrontation wouldn't satisfy me. I needed them to feel what I felt. Humiliated, exposed, blindsided. So I planned something unforgettable. Daniel had a promotion coming up. Big news. Everyone he knew would be there. I offered to throw the celebration. He grinned like he'd won some kind of prize. "You're the best," he said. I kissed him back. The bitterness tasted like acid. I invited everyone. Family. Friends. Alina. Of course. She'd show up like nothing happened. Maybe she thought I was still the naive one. Maybe she believed her secret was still safe. But it wouldn't be for long. I spent the next few days gathering everything: photos, receipts, messages, even booking confirmation emails he deleted from his phone, but not his trash folder. I created a video montage. It started with sweet memories, vacations, birthdays, laughing selfies. And then it turned cold, brutal, real. I wasn't going to raise my voice. I was going to raise the truth. The night of the party, I was all smiles. I wore the dress he liked, greeted everyone with warmth, and made sure the wine never ran out. Daniel looked proud, soaking up praise, hugging people, posing for pictures. Alina arrived late, of course, wearing a white dress and pretending to be shy. She hugged me like we weren't enemies. I hugged her back like I wasn't about to destroy her life. Everyone gathered in the living room. Laughter filled the space. Toasts were raised. He put his arm around me, thanked me in front of everyone for being his rock. I almost laughed out loud. I let him talk. Then I asked for everyone's attention. Just for a few minutes. I said I'd made a little video to celebrate his journey. The TV lit up. The first clips were harmless, old memories, funny moments, a few candid shots from our vacations. People smiled, even wiped tears. I watched Daniel's face. He was relaxed. Then the footage shifted. First, the hotel parking lot. Then Daniel and Alina holding hands. Kissing. Walking into the building. I'd muted the audio but added captions. Date. Time. Location. Then photos, screenshots of their texts. "I miss your mouth. Last night was perfect. Can't wait for Thursday." Silence. Not a gasp. Not a sound. Just frozen faces. My parents stared. Jenna crossed her arms. Someone whispered, "Is that Alina?" Alina's face drained of color. She looked at me like I'd stabbed her. Daniel stood up, reached for the remote. I beat him to it. I turned off the TV myself and faced the room. "I didn't want this to be private," I said. They didn't care about privacy when they snuck behind my back. They didn't think of respect or honesty or consequences. So I figured, why should I? Daniel tried to speak. "Let me explain." "No," I said. "Don't embarrass yourself more. You already wrote the ending. I just read it out loud." Alina began crying, hard, the kind of ugly sob that begs for sympathy. No one offered it. Her mother sat there, horrified. My uncle looked like he wanted to vanish. Daniel's face was blank. Not angry, not sorry, just stunned. Like he couldn't believe I'd beat him to the punch. Like he thought he'd always be the one in control. I walked to the center of the room. "I loved you," I said, looking directly at him. "And you chose someone who knows every part of me. That's a new kind of cruelty." He opened his mouth again. I turned and left. No screaming. No crying. Just silence and the sound of my heels walking away. I got in the car. I didn't look back. I didn't need to. I'd already burned the bridge. That night, I didn't sleep. But I felt lighter. Like I'd taken off something heavy that had been suffocating me. I didn't want revenge anymore. I just wanted peace. And for the first time in months, I was close to it. I moved out the next day. No warning, no long note. Just packed what I needed and left the key on the kitchen counter. He called 23 times. I didn't answer. Then came the texts, apologies, explanations, promises. I read none of them. Blocked his number. Same with Alina. Her first message was, "Can we talk?" As if there was anything left to say. The silence afterward was disorienting. No shared routines, no footsteps in the hallway, no second toothbrush in the holder. I thought I'd miss him. I didn't. What I missed was the version of him I created in my head, the one who never existed. I started therapy. Told the truth in small pieces. My therapist said betrayal this deep doesn't just wound. It alters you. I had to rebuild trust from the ground up, starting with myself. So I started doing things I hadn't done in years. Jogging. Cooking for one. Reading until I fell asleep without a single glance at the phone. Every day, I felt a little more like me. But then came the morning I couldn't get out of bed. At first, I thought I'd just slept wrong. My legs tingled heavy like stone. I tried to swing them over the edge of the bed, but they wouldn't respond. Panic rose in my throat. I pressed into my thighs with my fists. Nothing. I crawled for the phone and called emergency. At the hospital, they ran every test. MRI, blood work, neurological scans. All clear. The diagnosis, conversion disorder. A stress-induced paralysis. Temporary, they said. My body had carried the trauma too long and finally shut down. I couldn't walk for 3 days. 3 days of staring at the ceiling, wondering how I ended up here. Not from the heartbreak, but from the betrayal that dug into my bones and rewired something in me. I'd thought I was strong because I didn't cry, didn't scream, didn't fall apart. But apparently, my body kept the score. On the second day, I started journaling. Not about them, but about me. Who I was before the lies. What I'd let go of. What I wanted back. I made a list. Trust, joy, curiosity, rest. Things I'd abandoned to keep a false peace. On the third day, I stood. Slowly. Painfully. Shaking. But I stood. I took one step, then another. My legs burned, but I didn't stop. Because I'd already survived the real paralysis. The kind where you're stuck in a life that's not yours, pretending love is enough to cover betrayal. Now, every morning I run again. Not far, not fast. But I move. I choose motion. I choose myself. When people ask what happened, I just say, I couldn't walk for 3 days. Most assume it was an injury, a fall, something physical. I let them. The truth is more complicated, and it belongs to me now. Pain isn't always loud. Sometimes it whispers. Sometimes it sits quietly, waiting. And sometimes it teaches you how to stand again.